Before Hurricane Dorian, roughly 17,000 people on all of Abaco. Marsh Harbor is the commercial hub of the island, the only place for hardware stores and banks and supermarkets. Tim Sands has been running this business supply store for so long that he calls it my store, even though he doesn't own it.
Most people assume that it's my store. It's not my store. It's my livelihood. In 20 years, look like I'm out of a job.
Driving out of Marsh Harbor, Sands starts calculating how he's going to be able to survive, pay his bills, with most of the gas stations flattened, get gas for his cars, support his family in a place where so much is destroyed. The good news is that he eventually connected with all of his employees. Many of his neighbors are packing up and getting out if they can, but at least for now, Sands plans to stay and try to figure out how to make things work in the wake of one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to make land. Jason Beaubien, NPR News, Abaco Island, Bahamas.
Thank you for listening to WHYY. It's 9:18.
Supporting WHYY, Prindy, Princeton's premier independent film festival, a 2-day event taking place at the Princeton University Art Museum, September 21st and 22nd. Film details, passes, and ticket information at prindyfest.com. And Eastern State Penitentiary, offering a rare look into life inside America's correctional system. Eastern State Penitentiary presents Hidden Lives Illuminated, animated films by currently incarcerated artists projected onto Eastern State's Gothic facade. Screenings are held nightly, now through September 12th. Full details are available online at hiddenlives.org. That's hiddenlives.org.
We'll hear another signature song at 9:31. After headlines, Lulu speaks with James Dobbins, former special representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan, about the Camp peace negotiations with the Taliban.
I'm Tony Snyder with these headlines. After months of talks, Afghanistan is all of President Trump. And that he had called for peace negotiations. Participating reported today in spoke March to the U.S.
to open the door to peace talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government, and it was expected that those peace talks would start within a week or two. That's why this is so surprising.
In a letter you wrote along with 8 other former envoys to the region, you expressed real concern about the existing draft deal. You said that it did not create the conditions for peace in Afghanistan, that foreign forces should stay in the country until the government reached an agreement with the Taliban. Is no deal at this point better than a weak deal?
Well, the statement we issued was not a statement criticizing the agreement. It was a statement cautioning about what was to follow from the agreement. So I think we welcomed an agreement which would have led to the beginning of intra-Afghan talks, and we accepted that a partial drawdown of U.S. troops might have been a price worth paying for achieving that breakthrough. But we did caution that the full withdrawal of U.S. forces should not occur until a peace had been both negotiated and fully implemented. Now, that's not inconsistent with what we know about the agreement that was under negotiation. As far as we know, the timetable for the withdrawal of the residual American force was not specified. If it had been specified, we might have been critical, but we assumed that it wasn't specified.
Sir, I must take your temperature on this. Is canceling the deal in this way, via tweet, you know, these things are usually secret, we've known they've been going on for months, but you know, to do it in this manner, is that usual? And also, could it have some real ramifications?
Well, it's kind of the new normal. As President Trump said himself, apropos of his negotiations with China, this is the way I negotiate, which is abrupt alterations in position, surprising twists and turns, and trying to keep his negotiating partner off balance. So it's characteristic of a style of negotiation that the president has manifested.
Ambassador James Dobbins was the U.S. Special Representative for Afghanistan from 2013 to 2014. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
The fallout continues from revelations that billionaire sex offender Jeffrey Epstein solicited millions of dollars in donations for MIT that the school tried to hide. Epstein killed himself in jail last month while facing federal sex trafficking charges. The extent of his financial relationship with MIT was first reported in The New Yorker by Ronan Farrow, who relied in part on a whistleblower, Signe Swenson. I spoke with her earlier this weekend. Choi Ito, the director of MIT's Media Lab, resigned Saturday, hours after Ronan Farrow's reporting published. How are you feeling?
I think hold on. Need to take a deep breath for a moment, sorry.
It's okay.
I am feeling,
Why is this a hard question to answer, if I may ask?
Yeah, well, I felt like I was obligated to the information, and that I put myself second because it was bigger than me.
Swenson was in her mid-20s when she started working in development at MIT, and in Jeffrey Epstein's donor file, there was a link to an article about his 2008 conviction for sex crimes. A few years later, she applied for a job at the university's Media Lab, which was run by Choi Ito. Peter Cohen was the director of development.
When I applied for the job and began talking with Peter Cohen about the job, it was described to me that Joey has a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and that they were cultivating him as a donor to the lab.
And do you remember what your thoughts were then, considering you were aware of his conviction?
Yeah, I told Peter Cohen that he was a convicted pedophile, that this was well known, and I said it's a terrible idea, but he ultimately said that this was Joey's relationship and essentially would be in the realm of my responsibilities to help aid that relationship on.
Did he express any reservations to you about that, or did anyone else?
that specific moment, I'm not quite sure he said that, but he did agree with me at different points that this was not an ideal situation, that, you know, he may have made a different choice if it had been up to him.